Chris Lane, guitarist of Station. Hey, man, what's going on?
Not much. How are you?
Very good, very good. Before we get started into the interview about Station and stuff like that, let's go back to your early days. Where did you grow up?
Where did I grow up? I
Yeah,
grew up on Long Island,
Long Island.
suburb of New York City.
Wow. Um, how are you as a kid? Did you
Oh,
play sports? Whatever.
no, I might be the least athletic person on earth. I had a very good childhood. My parents were very supportive of my interests, which very quickly became musical.
Right.
Um, they used to listen to lots and lots of classic rock, and classic rock is very much alive and well on Long Island. So I feel like my musical taste is kind of a product of those two things constantly being around me.
Right. So when did you start playing
So
guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was about 16 years old. I basically had been playing saxophone and the piano, and I wanted to start a band. And my best friend, who was in the band with me at the time, he was playing the guitar. He would basically leave his guitar at my parents' house between practices, so I would fiddle with it, and I very much kind of became fascinated with it, and I started teaching myself how to play. And in keeping with my parents' support, they went out and said, "Okay, well, here's a guitar." So
Right.
I basically started just learning to play the guitar by improvising over Journey songs to see what sounded good.
Wow. So Journey was an influence for you?
What'd you say?
Was Journey an influence for you?
Oh, Neil Schon is one of my favorite guitar players. Neil Schon, Dave Gilmour, and John Sykes. They're pretty much the big three of my favorites. Steve Lukather's up there, but I mean, it's just yeah, I like really I like that kind of melodic playing that still has a bit of an edge to it.
Right. Wow. So when did you actually start playing in bands?
Well, I started playing in bands pretty early on Long Island. Like I said, growing up, when I was in high school, basically my friends and I started playing covers, a couple originals, and really experimenting with writing and such.
Right.
When I got to college, I really couldn't find people that I wanted to form the band that I wanted to form with. So instead, I started joining other people's bands
Right.
as kind of like a lead guitar player. And, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about how to play a show, not necessarily like playing the notes, but what goes on stage, loading into a venue, what that's about, how to kind of handle yourself in in like the whole show process, afterwards, before, stuff like that.
Right.
So after that, though, I really never played in that many bands other than Station, just because I've been very, very, very specific about wanting to form a band like Station. It's kind of waiting for the right guys.
Right. Wow. Did you record any material before Station?
I played on a couple of people's demos. I did a lot of like off Broadway work. Living in the city, in New York City, there wasn't and still isn't a huge calling for my style of music,
Right.
and because of that, I experimented tremendously with other styles to just be able to get out there and play. Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I love playing rock music and stuff like that, but I also really just like playing the guitar.
Right.
So any opportunity to do that, I usually jump at.
Right. Wow. So when did Station actually form?
Station formed in, I believe, 2010.
Right.
Formed when I was playing it. Well, I was trying to start up a band with this other singer, and it just wasn't working out. And so I ended up just saying, I'm just going to cut my losses because it's just wasting my time. I'm not getting what I want out of it.
Right.
And I was kind of dejected after that. I was, not giving up, but definitely of the kind of the mindset of like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this because I clearly haven't found the right person. And, it's like the same old story of all that. After you say that, you come across something that's kind of like changes, and you're like, oh. And I found a video of Pat singing in a band that he had actually just left.
Right.
And although the musical style was just completely different, he was singing in a metal band that had elements of like rap in it. I could hear that he could sing, and I contacted him, and I always make the joke that it was one of those like running through the fields towards each other moments
Oh
where we just
yeah,
had that
yeah.
conversation. It was like for years and years and years, and my entire adult life up to that, I had conversations with people where I would talk about bands that I was really passionate about that they would say, oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. When I spoke to Pat for the first time, we had a deep cut conversation about Journey. We had a real conversation about bands like Living Colour and White Snake, and Van Halen and Aerosmith, and like just it was something so new to me because I really had not found someone like that previously.
Right. Wow. What were some of the songs you played in cover bands back then?
When I was in high school,
Yeah.
I remember we used to play like Sweet Child of Mine. We used to play Cult of Personality because I really liked that song.
Right. Yeah.
We used to play mainly like guitar riff driven rock, like Any Way You Want It by Journey, but all classic rock.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think we played anything that was written after 1989.
Right. Wow. Now the band played a lot of big shows like Rocklahoma, Rock Fest, M3.
Yeah.
Really making a statement there and stuff like that. How was that experience, for you or the band personally, playing them big shows?
Well, look, like the big shows are also kind of like it depends on what we're playing them in terms of it's terms of why we're playing them. I'll put it that way.
Right.
And one of the things is like there's a very 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 big difference between playing like the M3 festival versus like Rock Fest. Very great experiences on both ends, just very different experiences. Because on a personal level, I'm on the road right now. Like, and on a personal level, I love traveling. I love meeting new people, trying new food, seeing new places. We're in Nashville right now, and we had a day off. Well, actually, I guess we technically haven't had a day off, but we had more time yesterday. And, I got to experience Nashville. We got to all go out and do that. A lot of the festivals are not accessible to a lot of other places to go visit. So when you go to the festival, because it's kind of chaos during the day, there are tons of bands. You load in fast, you play, you load out. It's very much like eye on the prize target kind of feeling. You run in, you do your thing, you go out, you meet the people.
Right.
And that's great. A festival like M3, I think there were 6 bands on the first day.
Right.
And, at Rocklahoma, I think there were 28 bands on the
Wow.
first day. So it's one of those things where it's like I had at M3, although I was really busy with like press and talking to people, and I'm very thankful that I had people to speak to in the crowd. It was very much the conversation of like, this is a much easier day. We can sit back and I can watch the other bands. I can enjoy it. I can take a lot more of the, liberty of like enjoying the festival for what it is, rather than having to be just so focused on getting everything done.
Right. Wow. Pretty cool. I was at Rocklahoma a couple times, and my writer was at M3. Both great shows.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
No, we were very lucky, too, that we've played with some really cool lineups, both for, like, bands that we'd want to play with and bands we'd want to see.
Right.
So we've had a very good run with that.
Cool. Now, it's been a couple of years since the debut full-length album release. Are you guys working on new material now, and is there a release date?
Well, yes and no. So there is new material recorded that is going to be released sooner than later. And then after that, we'll be finishing up what will be a full-length album for probably release early next year.
Right, cool.
But there'll be new music coming out in terms of singles very soon.
Cool. Now, you've been doing a number of new songs on your live set and stuff like that.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the new songs?
Sure. What do you want to
know? Can you tell me, anything? Are they going to be included on the new disc, or,
Yeah. Well, so basically, the way we like to kind of do it is that we have a very strong philosophy that if the audience can't sing the song back to us by the end of the first time they hear it, it's probably not worth recording. So we spend a lot of time preparing sets that will kind of balance new and old music, and then when we go on the road, like for instance right now, we're kind of taking a litmus test of the songs. We obviously we know what we like, and we know the other thing too is, and this is the biggest struggle that we always have, is that don't forget, as if I play you a song, all you have to go by is how you hear that song. And let's just say the sound wasn't that great that night, or let's just say you had a headache.
Right.
It's going to influence how you felt about the song.
Yeah.
Whereas in my head, I know what I want the final production to be. So there's definitely a bit of a gap there. But, at the same time, I mean, I've yet to have a tomato thrown at me, but like if we played a song and someone did so, I would say maybe this is not the best idea. So we kind of balance that. And as we go out on the road and we meet new people, we show them new music, and we kind of see how they react to it. And that is a very good indication of where the direction of our song choices are. Because, I like every other band. I mean, what are you going to put, 12 songs on an album? We've got 50 songs ready to do so. So, they're all my babies, but you can't pick them that easily.
Sure. Now, the station's, been touring around the country and stuff like that. Are you guys totally independent without a label or management?
We have no label. We have management, and we're very fortunate to work with an agent as well. But for the most part, we do everything on our own. I mean, as the band's been growing, we've been able to work with people who have definitely helped us, like I said, agent, management, stuff like that. But we are independent in terms of the label sense. So it's, it's a good thing in the sense of the creativity and freedom of that. It's a tough thing, though, because of the lack of advertising and marketing and opportunities of just being able to say that you work with this label to be able to take advantage of.
Right. Wow. That's pretty cool. Now, the band released a couple music videos last album, and can you tell me anything new in the works?
Music video-wise?
Yes.
There'll be music videos for the 2 new singles that are going to come out. So, yeah, I mean, there will be new ones. I mean, we're probably not going to film any more videos for the old album.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because we actually filmed more videos than we planned to release, and they, because of some issues with the people making the music videos, never saw the light of day. So I'm kind of sad about that. But at the same time, we're playing new music, so new videos, new media, new pictures, maybe a new haircut, probably not.
Cool. If someone came to you and was new in music, what recommendations would you tell them? What experiences or whatever.
If someone came to me with new
asking,
music?
Asking, I plan on going into the music business. What's the pros and cons?
Oh, well, it depends on what you want out of it. I mean, I'm incredibly fortunate that we're able to do what we love, which is play music and record music, to people who are willing to listen and consistently.
Right.
So, I mean, at that point, I would say that I'm doing pretty well because I get to enjoy myself consistently. I mean, it's great.
Right.
On the flip side of it, though, is that I also understand my place in the music world at the moment, and it's not one that can demand certain things, and certain comforts need to be kind of foregone, and you got to kind of call it for what it is. So you need to be able to see past the, I don't want to say failures, is not the right word, but see past the shortcomings of what happens night to night. Right. I mean, here's a perfect example, right? We played in Kentucky, in Whitesburg, Kentucky, on Friday night, and we maybe played to 12 people. We drove 11 hours to do that.
Right.
So that's horrible, right?
Yeah.
Flip side of it, though, is that the reason we played to 12 people is because there was torrential rain that caused flooding that didn't allow people to come.
Right.
So now, like, how does that make us feel? Are we happy that there were people that are coming, but they couldn't get there because of the weather?
Right.
Are we sad that we drove 11 hours to play to 11, 12 people? You got to look at it and call it for what it is, because the next night we played for 500 people.
Right.
So you know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that if you let the stuff that you either can't control or the stuff that just happens because life happens get in the way of what your ultimate goal is and your passion for doing it.
Right.
You're kind of setting yourself up for failure already.
Right. Yeah. Wow. And what is your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal?
Yes.
To be the first band to play the moon.
It's possible, Ask Trump.
Yeah,
he'll
right.
tell you.
My goal is to be able to 100% make my living, continue to bring new music to people consistently, and just to keep doing this. I mean, as we grow, and we've already seen it, in our scale of things already, that we can reach more people by working with people who have the ability to help us reach more people. I mean, the days of showing up to the venue and expecting there to be people there are over. And I've never been alive in a band to see those days. So On that side, it's very difficult because, you rely on a lot of external factors to be able to move your product and to be able to advertise yourself.
Right.
You go to a market for the first time, and let's just say you're playing with 3 local bands, and those local bands bring nobody because of whatever reason.
Right.
You just came to that market, and that one opportunity that you had,
Right.
done.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to play in the same market for days on end, right next to each other, because no venue is going to want that because they know that you're going to cannibalize your own draw.
Right.
So, that's a very, very, very hard thing to deal with. And as the band kind of grows, we mitigate that a little by being able to work with other ways of reaching people. Not just, hey, I hope you hear it. More like, oh, well, maybe you'll see a television commercial. You hear it on the radio, a billboard,
Right.
skywriting, the first banner on the moon,
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Cool. Cool. But is there anything that goes through your mind when you're playing a song besides the song?
Actually, no. I tend to just go dark when I play. Like, I don't really think about anything except that. Like, I have a very hard time thinking about something
Right.
like intensely while I'm playing the guitar with the band. I can have a conversation while I'm just fooling around on the guitar, but when you're on stage and there's a lot going on, you got to be mindful of where the other guys are. I play Jackson guitars, so
Right.
the pointy headstock could impale them if I didn't look out. So you got to make sure that your staging's cool. You're playing obviously the right notes in the song. You're doing that correctly, and then the flip side of it too is you don't want to look like you're thinking about something else on stage. You want to be
Right.
engaged and stuff like that. So I find it to be very relaxing to actually play the show because I'm lost in it, and it's a wonderful feeling.
Right. Um, do you get any jitters or anything before you hit the stage or stuff like that? Because like I'm a photographer and I have to be on. Like I can't make a mistake by wrong settings, stuff like that. How about with when you're playing guitar?
No, not really.
No.
I no, I like I don't want to say like, oh, whatever, I could do whatever I want and then not care about it.
Yeah.
There's totally things that shake me, but
Right.
like for the most part, whether I play to like 3 people, 3,000 people,
Right.
it doesn't really matter just because I'm doing the same thing. And the joke that I always make is that as horribly as I can mess up and whatever, I have to remind myself, well, I'm on stage and they're not. They probably want to be, so I get to have some more fun than they do.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing that keeps me calm while we
Right.
play. We're also, we do this a lot, so we've gotten to the point now where it's kind of under our fingers, and we feel pretty comfortable putting out that.
Right. Right. What's the feeling like when people ask for autographs?
Oh, we were very, very, very lucky with that. We signed a lot of stuff after the show. One thing that we always make sure to do is we always make sure to go out to the audience afterwards and meet the people who are listening to us, because there's 2 sides of it. On one side, the music is incredibly personal for us,
Right.
and we feel very, very, very strongly about making it and playing it and putting it out there. So, when people respond to it and listen to it, they're helping us, and they become part of our little musical family.
Right.
On the other side, just from a business level, it's important to meet people and remind them, hey, look, we're a band. We have music available. We have T-shirts. We have stuff like that. This is what we do. And, because a lot of times what happens is you find that if you are on stage and you're playing music and people are listening to the music, they're thinking about the music.
Right.
That's great. And then you get off stage and the other band starts playing the music and they start thinking about that music. So you need to go off stage and be like, hey, did you like the music? Yes. Do you want a CD? Oh, yeah, I would love a CD.
Right.
Like, you'd be surprised how many people don't think to ask to pick up something simply because they just didn't think of it. It's not that they don't want it. You don't have to sell it to them. They just didn't think of it.
Right. Wow. So you talked about merch. Where can people pick up station merch?
You can buy everything station related on stationband.com.
Cool. I know you're going out on a little mini tour coming up and stuff like that. I know July 21st you're playing Mexicali, which me and my writer will be at that show.
Cool.
Is there anything? Yeah, thanks. Is there anything special we could look forward to?
At the Mexicali show?
Yes.
We'll play some new music for sure. We've played at Mexicali several times, and I'm sure you've been there. Like, it's a great room.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
So so like usually when there's a bit of a space to kind of get the headroom of the band and to have it be a little louder, so it's kind of, I would say fuller, but it's just a little bit more of the experience that we like. Those are usually the shows that we always look forward to because it truly showcases, in my opinion, who we are.
Right.
So we'll play some new music. We'll obviously do songs, from our first album, and yeah, you'll be one of the very many people that we're testing the new songs out on.
Cool. Yeah, my writer Mark Balogh. Like you're talking about, fans or whatever coming to the show. He asked me to hook up with you guys for the interview, which we reviewed the disc already. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he saw you 11 times.
Wow.
Like that's a fan. You know.
Yeah, I mean that is something that I don't really know how to deal with sometimes because it's just like one of the things that we've kind of seen, and this has kind of been a very positive experience for us, is that, as we travel to new markets, we can't be out on the road for months at a time.
Right.
So if we're going to play in Omaha, we might not be able to play in Kansas City because we might need to get to Rocklahoma the next day.
Right.
And that's happened. So what happens? You play in Omaha, it's the farthest away from New York you've ever played, and you say, okay, station, network, whatever, we're going to be in Omaha.
Right.
Well, then the person in Kansas City, 3 hours away from Omaha, says, well, wait a second. I want to see the band. I live 3 hours away from Omaha, but I live 4 hours away from where Rocklahoma is held.
Right.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And then people show up, and they're like, oh, I traveled 3 hours to see you, 4 hours to see you. This one couple got on a plane from Seattle to come see us.
Wow.
A couple last night. We're in Nashville right now.
Yeah.
A couple last night that we were talking to at the show, we met them at M3. I didn't realize that they came to M3 specifically for us. That's an 8-hour drive or 9-hour drive. I mean, those are things that when I hear that, like, besides being incredibly gracious, I don't know how to react because
Right.
I'm kind of like, I wouldn't do that. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, so, I always make the joke that if it's something my mom probably wouldn't do, I don't know if I'd expect anyone else to do it.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a thing that we experience, and I'm hoping in the near future, especially next year, you'll actually see us in a lot more cities, less frequently,
Right.
but consistently.
Right.
And because that's the way to tour. The way to tour is to truly be able to block out time and do it all at once.
Right.
Because just the costs of touring to start up a tour are tremendous.
Right.
So
yes.
You get it all, you do it, but then you do it consistently so you can go back to those markets. You can bring new music, and you can bring all the things that people want out of a band. Right. So that's the goal, and that's what we're working towards, and I see it happening. So I'm excited about it.
Cool. Now, after this little tour, what's the plans for the rest of the year?
More shows.
Cool.
So after we get back we're done in about a week and a half. After we get back, we will be off for 2 weeks just because it's Memorial Day, and that's a tough weekend to play a show anyway because everyone goes away.
Right.
But then we'll be doing a bunch of East Coast shows. We'll be in Raleigh. We'll be back in the Baltimore area after M3. And we'll be doing shows in New York City, on Long Island, Connecticut, up in New England, Pennsylvania, all those kinds of things, Virginia. And basically that'll be tempered with us in and out of the studio, or actually different studios, recording the rest of our album. So it's going to be a lot of guitar playing, just very different types of guitar playing as
Right.
we kind of go from the stage to the studio to the stage. That's another thing, too, that's really nice. I mean, realistically, it's a lot of fun to play live, and it's a lot of fun to, it's a lot of fun to kind of do all those things.
Right.
It's a lot of fun to do all those things, but, you need to kind of balance it, because if you just play live all the time and you don't kind of keep your chops up studio-wise,
right.
it becomes more difficult to start recording music, because all of a sudden, you're like, wait a second, I can't play this as sloppy as I do at a million volume.
Right.
So it's a good thing for the band. It's a good healthy thing, and it's fun for us to hear our songs come to life.
Cool. Chris Lane, Guitar Station. Congratulations, man! I'm very happy for you guys, and so is my writer Mark. Would you like to say anything to the fans out there before we conclude?
Thank you. I mean, it's because of everyone who listens to us, supports us, people like you, that we get to be children playing music on the road in a bus, and that I am forever eternally grateful.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.